This is Michael Peters with Channel 74 News, and we're on location today at the Slate Hill Flower Farm in beautiful Sharon Springs, New York. And there's a great story behind this farm. The farmhouse is just over my left shoulder, down at the bottom of the hill. The farmhouse was built prior to the Civil War. In 2015, Mike and Maria Lang were on a Sunday drive. They were actually heading to Cooperstown. Cooperstown is about a 25-mile drive from here, just over that mountain. And of course, it's home to the Baseball Hall of Fame. As Mike and Maria were heading to Cooperstown, they made their way down that windy road and drove right past this farm. Completely stumbled upon it. And they were struck by its beauty, so they pulled in to check it out. Probably the most important thing they saw that day on this property was a for sale sign. So Mike and Maria made a decision. They went home, they talked about it, and they decided to become farmers. They sold their house in Saratoga Springs, New York, and moved here to Sharon Springs, New York. And with all this land, 32 acres, Mike and Maria decide, what are we going to do with it? Maria has had a love of flowers since she was a little girl, so she decided, I would really love to have a flower farm. The flower she really most wanted to have was lavender. And here we are 5 years later in 2020, and I'm standing in the middle of that lavender farm, surrounded by over 1,000 lavender plants. Mike Lang, co-owner of Slate Hill Flower Farm, is working right over there, and we're going to go check out what he's up to this morning. Come on. Good morning, Mr. Lang. As I look across your lavender field, I know that this is quite a project. Can you take us through the process of actually planting the lavender?
Sure. First you got to prep the holes. We space the lavender out about 3 to 4 feet apart, 3 feet, because they spread it to about 3 feet. We put fabric down, till the soil, make sure it's all free of weeds. And then you have to augment the hole. We need to raise the pH a little bit, so we put, first we take the dirt out of the hole into the bucket, and then we augment the dirt with gravel, sand, and oyster shells or chicken grit, which raises the pH. So I've pretty much done that to this one hole here. I do 5 holes at a time. I'm just going to throw some chicken grit in the bucket, give it a stir. I've already pre-stirred this bucket pretty good, so just adding some chicken grit, and you fill the hole back up. And you grab a plug. Get your hands good and dirty. I use a bulb planter to get the hole. Get the plug in. Pack it down, clean it up. And go on to the next one.
Well done. And I imagine having that blue tractor from Forster Farm Equipment in Chambersburg, PA, makes this process a whole lot easier.
It sure does. Doing this with a wheelbarrow would be a non-starter.
Okay. Well, Mike, thanks for your time and best of luck with your next plant.
Thanks.
We've made our way to the pond here at Slate Hill Flower Farm, and Mike's going to explain to us the contraption that he created for getting water out of the pond to take up to the field to water the lavender. Mike?
Yeah, so digging a well up there would have been way too expensive. So these are containers, sterile containers that are used used for all kinds of things. And I rigged up a pump, and a 2-directional system allows me to pump water out of the pond into the tank, and then when I get up to the hill, flip it around and pump it out of the tank and onto the plants. So the first thing is to put a siphon in a bucket so I don't pull up pond scum. Alright. Then I take the hose off of the tank so that I can siphon water out of the pond. Take the outlet hose, put it in the tank. Creates a lot of pressure, so I bungee it down so the hose doesn't fly everywhere. And now it's going to get loud. Prime the pump.
Before you start this reminds me of an old TV show called MacGyver, because you just basically rigged this system up on your own, correct?
Yeah, kind of, but I'm probably not the first person to have done it.
Well, for a guy who has trouble tying his shoes, I would say this is pretty ingenious.
Well, it works pretty well. So the first thing I have to do here is prime the pump. You don't want to start a pump dry, burn out the motor. I'm just going to put a little water in there and fire it up.
Thanks, Mike. I'm here on the porch at Slate Hill Flower Farm, and our next stop is going to be in downtown Sharon. Maria rented a small space in downtown Sharon for about a year where she marketed some of her dry floral arrangements and her lavender products. But in February, Mike and Maria purchased their own property to have a much bigger space for Maria to open her store, which is called Sharon Sprigs. We're going to head into downtown Sharon right now and see what Maria's up to on her first day in business. Let's go. As you enter the little village of Sharon Springs, New York, one of the first buildings on your right is the American Hotel, circa 1847. It is a building that is in immaculate shape for its age and is on the National Register of Historic Places. Welcome to the American Hotel in Sharon Springs. And as we venture just beyond the American Hotel property, the next building in town is this yellow building, which is the new home of the newest business in town, Sharon Sprigs. Much of the merchandise in Sharon Sprigs is made by Maria Lang from her Slate Hill Flower Farm. Why don't we venture inside and see what Maria is up to in her first official day in business. We're here inside Sharon Sprigs in Sharon Springs, New York with Maria Lang. And Maria, we'd like to ask you, 4 or 5 years ago, you and your husband decided, hey, we're going to start a lavender farm. And so what's it like to be standing in your own shop here with your own homegrown lavender for sale today?
Well, it's incredibly rewarding knowing all the labor and love that goes into growing lavender. Lavender isn't natural to New York State, so we have to do a lot of prep and planting to ensure that it's going to grow successfully, and then it takes a lot of care to overwinter it as well because we cover it, and then with the winters we get in upstate, we worry about the covers blowing off. So it's like having children, and it's incredibly rewarding when you see that all your hard work is successful. So like we have lavender here today that we take great pains to grow sustainably and organically, so that it's a healthy product to use in your home, or if you want, you can use it in cooking. And we're also very proud of the fact and feel lucky that the farm soil produces such a nice quality lavender. One of the things that people remark most is how colorful it is, and also it has a very lasting color to it. So we feel that we put out a very good product.
And for the folks out there, how hard is it to start your own business from scratch?
Well, first it starts with doing something you love. I love flowers. I grew up with flowers, but then I gravitated towards the dried flowers, again, because I wanted to enjoy flowers throughout the year, and I wasn't in favor of the silk ones. So historically, going back for hundreds of years, farmers and other cultures had dried flowers so that they could have color in their house throughout the seasons. And we've worked on different things that work to preserve the color so that they're vibrant and long-lasting, and then turn that into a small business that's working for us. Even during COVID, we've been able to open in a larger space, and we're going online soon as well.
And speaking of reaching out through social media or online, where can folks find you on social media or your farm, Slate Hill? How can they get in contact with you?
Well, we have a website, and you can go to www.sharonspriggs.com or www.slatehillflowerfarm.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram under Sharon Spriggs or Slate Hill Flower Farm. And then our new location in Sharon Springs, New York is 200 Main Street, so it's kind of known as the Yellow Building, or had been the Spring House Spa.
Well, thank you for your time, Maria, and best of luck with your new business.
Thank you.